let's talk about Mad Men last night, which was a very satisfying episode, I felt. The historical hot button issue was the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., and it showed everybody's kind of emotions about that. That was not a main plot line, it was just the underlying plot line. Like, you remember how when JFK died on the show, and that was kind of like the underlying thing. I think that the Martin Luther King death created some good moments. As the show progresses, you see more black people. Peggy has a black secretary, and of course, Draper has Dawn as his secretary. So there was a funny moment where Dawn was like, I'd rather stay here and work, and and Joan gave her this kind of awkward hug, and Dawn was kind of looking like, okay, what's going on here? She just reamed me out last week, so what's happening? And I have to say that I was kind of looking for one of the characters to make sort of an inappropriate sort of racist statement about the death of Martin Luther King Jr. This is still the 60s. It's the late 60s. We're in 67 now. But you have to think that somebody was thinking in the back of their mind some bad things. And I thought, like, for instance, I thought that Ginsberg's father was going to say something. Then I thought Sterling was going to say something. Then I thought Henry Francis was going to say something. But nobody ever did. So, can't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes, you just might find, get what you need. But the rest of the episode was not necessarily dealing with Martin Luther King. It was kind of the evolution of some of the characters. So let's talk about those. First, let's talk about Peggy and Abe. Now, Peggy has arrived, and the spotlight is on her, honey. She's buying her own condo on the east side, or thinking about it. As far as her and Abe, that was the cutest sort of revelation. Last season, when she decided to move in with Abe, and her mom was like, he's not going to marry you. He's going to dump you and get a pretty girl. And as bad as it seems, because I am a Peggy fan, but I was kind of on the side with her mother. I thought that Abe was kind of that type to kind of slum it while he's slumming it, but when he arrives, he would trade up to another woman. However, last night, he said something that really took Peggy and me by surprise when he said he always imagined raising their kids on the west side. And I just thought that was really sweet because, yes, Peggy has arrived and she has been able to get everything that she kind of set out for in the beginning. However, I will say that I think that something terrible might happen with her and her boss at the new agency. Sorry, I don't remember their names, but that guy is kind of creepy to me. He seems like he has ulterior motives, and that there's something crazy going on with that guy. So I'm going to keep an eye out for him. They also showed a little bit more of Ginsberg, who I have to admit I loved from the beginning, from his first episode. And, his dad set him up on a date, with this cute girl. They had a good time, but he was really awkward and just kind of not knowing what to do. Something came up, though, that I have been thinking since last season. For me, it seems like Ginsberg has this obsession with Draper and a sort of jealousy of Megan Draper. And I don't know if you guys remember the episode last season where Megan and one of her friends came in late night while the guys were working. Megan goes into the office with Don, and that's all that Ginsberg is like paying attention to, like what's going on with them. And he says something like bad about Megan. And then there's the girl, Megan's friend, who's sort of doing like a table dance for all the guys, and he's not interested. So I always kind of had this inclination that he might be gay. And his dad said something like that. Oh, what, you don't like girls? I don't know, maybe just me being gay, I'm wishful thinking and wanting another gay character since they got rid of Sal. However, I think there's something there. I might be overthinking it, but I think that there is something there. Last week I mentioned that there might have been something going on with Pete Campbell last week, and I totally forgot to mention that Trudy has put him out. She is pissed, and this week, in a very emotional, scary time, she said, "No, I don't need you to come over. We're really doing this separating thing." And poor Pete, he's kind of missing her now. Aww. And for the record, I like Pete. You know, he's Calvin Candy. He's Sir Walter Elliot of Jane Austen's Persuasion. He's a victim of his time. I think he's a go-getter. I think he wants to accomplish his dreams, but I think he's realizing that advertising probably isn't his dream anymore, and that he was sort of following a blueprint of what his dream should be. I hope that by the time this show is over that he realizes what he really wants to do. He probably is sort of searching, but I think that he will be a really cool person once he decides that advertising and that kind of life really isn't for him, and that he's been chasing the wrong thing. Whew. I want to talk about Bobby Draper because he kind of had a interesting thing going on. No, the kid, he's just really cute, and I think he kind of delivered his lines well. I think he did a good job this episode, and it had to burn Don Draper when his son was more worried about Henry Francis, his stepdad, than he was about anything else. And anything that has to burn Don Draper makes me happy. I hate Don Draper. We can get into Megan really, really quick. Megan didn't do much, but she sure did win that advertising award. And Don didn't win any. Awesome. And so let's talk about Don finally. Now first, before I get into actually this episode, let's talk about something that he does that gets on my nerves. Whenever anybody close to him wants to talk or, needs him for something, he'll always start with a, "Okay, go on," or, I don't know. It seems like he feels like he's on this other level and he has to stoop down every now and then. I got a sense of that last night when his son, really needed him and, really, really wanted to talk, and Don was kind of like... And another reason why I hate Don is like, okay, if you're going to be a cheater, cheat, whatever. But he becomes so obsessive over these women, and you will see it throughout the previous seasons. Last night, his new side piece went to Washington, D.C. at the beginning of the episode, and of course, with Martin Luther King getting assassinated, there was a lot of shit going down in Washington, D.C., and he was more focused on that than of the well-being of his wife. He totally forgot about his children. His main focus was on his side piece. God, I hate that. At the end of the episode, Megan came in and she was saying something about she never knows how he feels. And he went on this monologue about blah, blah, and being a good father and all this bullshit. I kind of drifted off because I don't care, Don Draper. I have no sympathy for Don Draper. But overall, I think it was a good episode. It was very emotional. It had its funny moments. But before I leave, I want to give some predictions of what I think might happen before the end of the season. For one, like I said before, we're going to find out the sexual orientation of Ginsberg or what his issue is. Two, I think that Joan and Harry are going to have a big, big blowout before the end of the season. There was a point at the little banquet where Paul Newman was speaking, and Joan made a little joke, "Oh, I'm going to need binoculars," and Harry shushed her. And I don't know, that aggressive shushing Plus, what happened last week, you could tell that he has very high animosity towards her. And you know what? I was on IMDb last week, and somebody brought up something that I totally forgot, which was that when Harry first started his TV division of the company, Joan was the one that was helping him for free. She helped him get that ball rolling. So this animosity towards her is kind of unjustified and unfair and ungrateful, I think. So I think that they're going to have a big blowout before the end of the year. Also, I'm saying look out for Peggy's boss. I think that guy is creepy, and I think that something's going to happen between them. Something really bad, because Peggy is getting to the point where she's, at her fantasy life. Everything is going great for her. So, in TV, we just can't have everything going great for you. Something's going to happen, and I think it's with that guy because he's creepy. Oh, and let's just say that I love my Betty Draper, but she was kind of last night. The biggest thing that happened with the Francises is that Henry, who I think is like so handsome, by the way, Henry is going to run for senator, so that's cool. Betty was kind of like, oh, this is what I've been wanting for you for so long, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, yes, I can't wait for you to meet everybody. And she kind of had a look like, oh, but I'm still fat. So, we'll probably have more of her weight loss issues. But, again, a good episode. I really enjoyed it. And that's that.